every day you should wake up and ask yourself, am I in the best condition to do the session that is planned today? I'm not really a big fan of TSS because it's based off FTP, which then is like basically an estimation of an estimation.
Pressure makes diamonds, no?
But the racing's for pressure. You can't have pressure all the time. And also you can't expect like your performance to just go up all the time. Yeah.
Do you think that it would be enough time for me 2 weeks from one stage race to the other extremely hard race? It's very important not to compare yourself with your yesterday self. It's not where the progress happens overnight.
If you're having a lot of stress at work, there's a lot of life pressure. Constantly doing hard sessions, you're just going to run out of energy. If we suddenly said, oh, you're actually going to do 22,000 kilojoules in a week, which is like the equivalent of a week of the Tour de France, 30 hours of training, you might be like, yeah, I can do that. I'll be up for that. But realistically, it's not going to happen.
Time goes by. It's already 4th episode of Crafted for Speed. In the previous episode, we covered how we put the testing results into training plan. Today, Jake will tell us what we are going to figure out.
Today, we're focusing on taking all the info that we've had over the last 3 episodes and turn that into, an actual, what you'd think of as like a standard weekly plan or 2 weekly plan.
Why it's 1 week or 2 weeks? Why not 1 month?
I think a lot of people would tend to do 1 month, right? If you get a plan like that's on Training Peaks or anything like that, or I don't know, how you have a coach, how many weeks in advance does he?
We are basically always in touch, and at the most I get 1 week. On Sunday, at the best, he puts me up to Friday at the most.
Okay, that's pretty good.
But also it's worth mentioning that usually I make decisions where I'm going to race next on a short notice, so it's also like making his life harder, but that's me.
But that again is also important to what we're talking about, which is plans should be dynamic. You never know, doing it for a month, there's no point because you don't know how your body's going to feel in 3 days from now, let alone a month from now. Whereas generally people like to see some sort of structure as to what they think they have to do for a week, 2 weeks, just so you can plan what you're doing.
Yeah.
But the actual days and what happens within those days might change quite a lot, right? Because every day you should wake up and ask yourself, am I in the best condition to do the session? If you wake up and you have a hard session planned, are you ready to do a hard session? Are you ready to get what you need to out of the session, or do you need an easier day and you do the hard day another day?
How to make that assessment, whether you are able to or you should skip it?
Anyone really has access to this information. We all have, a lot of people that would be watching this will have some sort of wearable, right? Whether it's a Garmin watch or Apple Watch or Whoop or anything like that. You have a Garmin watch, right?
Yeah.
What of the like wellness metrics, what are you looking at?
When I feel not good, I usually look at the resting heart rate, and it's kind of good indication if resting heart rate is like 5 beats up, then you are kind of at the risk area where you might get ill. Like that's kind of my indication how I look at it. But in general, like stress metric, I don't really know what it actually shows, but usually it's a bit of related. If you are feeling sick, your stress will be higher, your resting heart rate will be higher. So those kind of probably the only ones which I look at, because it's Phoenix 5X, so it's old one and it doesn't have like HRV, HRV or other which newer devices has. So it's like a bit of limited.
Okay, yeah. Resting heart rate is, to be honest, it's the number one most important metric to track, or if you're going to track anything, that's what you should look at, because your resting heart rate is effectively, it's your body's signal for how hard it's working at rest. So if it's elevated, it's doing more than it would be normally, right? So like you say, if it's 5 beats higher, I would say you're probably already ill rather than you're going to get ill. It's probably too late to not be ill at that point. But it's a good way of going, even if you don't feel ill and you don't have symptoms, you say, I'm not going to train as hard today, or I'm going to have an easy day because my resting heart rate is high. Equally, you know, as it gets lower and lower, that's a good sign that, okay, I'm responding well to the training I'm doing because my heart rate is getting more and more adapted to, you know, A, recovering from the training, and B, being at rest. It's like becoming even stronger.
I don't know how much we should talk about the heart rate, but one thing which I noticed in the past is that if you go sleep like after midnight, usually it also affects the resting heart rate a bit. Doesn't go as low as it would if you go to sleep like 10 p.m. for instance.
Yeah, because you never find full rest, so your body's not getting into like the deepest stage of sleep where everything slows down. Generally, if you've been up later, it's probably because you're doing something that then your body is like, again, also taking longer to come down from. So resting heart rate's a really good metric to track. Then the other metric and you've just talked about it, that's like absolutely crucial is sleep. So how good was your sleep and how long did you sleep for? Like that is so important. And you know, it doesn't necessarily matter if you have one night of bad sleep, but if you have 2 or 3, you know, then you're kind of in danger of your body's not going to recover what you're doing. You need to rest. You need to have an easy day. You need to catch up on that sleep. And then finally, the metric I do track is HRV, which is your heart rate variability. There's a lot of like conflicting information over this metric, and you know, it's fairly recently that it was kind of considered this special metric that you can base everything off. But again, really, it's just an indicator of that your body is either working harder to do something or not quite as hard to do something.
Does your Garmin automatically calculates that, or how it works on your end?
So yeah, your watch will generally track it when you're asleep. That tends to be when the watch does it, because it can get a more accurate reading, because actually tracking HRV off a watch is not particularly accurate. I think it's got better, but it's not perfect.
What I could do with my watch is in the morning put the heart rate strap, and then like, what's the best protocol to do that after sleep? Like, should it be standing? Should it be lying on the bed? I think ideally it's suggested to be standing still for 3 minutes or something like that. Is it true or not?
You can do it that way. I used to do it where I would get up and effectively do it as I'm waiting for the coffee machine to warm up. So I guess you stood there for a few minutes, right? And that was the way I did it with the chest strap. But I realized that really it was unnecessary. Like, you don't need to be that kind of, you know, anal about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can just like, you know, as long as you have a consistent metric, if it's from your watch or whatever, then that's fine. Because it's also, what we're not interested in is the individual day. Like, if you sleep badly on one day, or your resting heart rate's kind of elevated on one individual day, it's not that important. What we want to know is like, okay, how does it compare, you know, over a 30-day average or a 3-day average? If there's a big difference, you know, if the last 3 days has been hugely different to the last 30 days, then it's probably important, and you need to take notice of it.
Is it yours or is it mine?
This is, I'm not going to say it's mine and it's not yours, it's someone else's, but it's still good information. But you know, you can see here, because his 3-day averages are pretty much the same as his 30-day averages, his readiness score is like absolutely in the middle, which is normal. And again, if you feel particularly good or particularly bad, that's when you then make a decision on, okay, what should I do today? What's today's session going to be? Do I need to change it?
So basically there can be 2 situations. Either I'm feeling good or I'm feeling bad. How that will simplify or make it more complex to make a week plan, how it works, just briefly.
Yeah, so you can, you know, all your decisions should be based on like where you're going long term, i.e. what the goal is. And then, like, you know, we've moved back every time we've done an episode, right? And it's the same way. So when you base your like daily decision of what am I doing today, you plan a week or 2 weeks or however long you're planning for, and you're asking yourself, okay, how much training am I going to do in this period of time with obviously the hours I have available and, you know, compared to what I've been doing in the past. So a lot of people will use TSS because, you know, we all use Training Peaks, and that's kind of the metric that they use to track load, and you get that, whatever it's called, the performance manager chart, the, you know, where you can see your fitness and form. But I'm not really a big fan of TSS because it's based off FTP, which then is like basically an estimation of an estimation, and it's not super accurate. Whereas you can just, if you've got a power meter, I just track kilojoules because it is what it is. Like there's no estimation there. I mean, it's coming off a power meter, but a kilojoule is a kilojoule. Yeah. So I always look at that because that is the, you know, the physical load you've put on your body for that session, for that second, for that week. So that's the thing I track. And then you can look at, you know, within that, okay, where have those kilojoules come from? Have they come aerobically or anaerobically? And that gives your idea of intensity. So for every kilojoule that comes from glycogen or carbohydrate, okay, that's the intense stuff, and the rest isn't. So, you know, I kind of had a quick look at your last few months, and, you know, on average, you're doing 6,500 kilojoules a week, and about 2,500 is coming from the anaerobic system. So, you know, when planning a week, okay, you want to increase your training load, then you want to aim for like 7,000 a week. So when you plan, okay, can I hit those points? Then we picked out, okay, once, you know, one of those sessions, you want to be doing a race simulation that's like 3,000 kilojoules. So that's quite a lot of the day of the week. So one of those days is a big one, and then you have the other kilojoules to play with for the rest of the week. And in terms of, okay, how are you going to make that look? Is it going to be hard, easy, hard, easy? Again, you know, you're wanting to do stage races, so you're going to want a number of hard sessions in a row in order to simulate the kind of load that the stage race is going to do, right? So you might do like easy, hard, off, hard, easy, long.
And in order, like, let's say we simulate a situation of 3,000 kilojoules, what is the best approach to reach them? You mentioned 2 ways, so it could be aerobically or anaerobically. Aerobically, in order to hit those joules, it would mean a long day in the saddle. Like if you would do very steady fat max effort, let's say how long for me it would take roughly to hit those 3,000s in aerobic only, and then a mix of both.
The most kilojoules you can do in an hour is like, just think of it like your maximum power for an hour. So, you know, the fastest way you're going to do it is by riding kind of sweet spot threshold effort, because that's just going to be one sustained effort, big power output for the hour. And if you're doing, I don't know, 350 watts, that might be 1,200 kilojoules an hour. Whereas, I mean, but that's not very realistic to the race, right? You're trying to simulate what you're doing in the race. So, you know, a portion of that 1,200 kilojoules is coming anaerobically within that 3,000. So you're going to have to do a lot of hard efforts, like 3-minute efforts, you know, sprints throughout the session. And then the rest of it, you're kind of recovering so you can keep going hard enough.
And is it important whether you will cross like a particular zone of power or not necessarily in this instance? If you go in Z7 and you do like burst into Z7, so it will take you probably a bit shorter in terms of the time frame. Throughout like 3 hours, you might generate those joules faster, yet you would put a bigger strain on your body. So is there something to take into account?
Yeah, so you kind of got it right. Effectively, I like to think like, do you remember, again, you can put this on screen, the chart that showed the carbohydrate burn?
Yeah, if anyone wants to figure out about this more, you can watch a third episode.
Yeah, nice link. I like to think of that chart as also, A, it's showing you how much carbohydrate you're burning, but it also is a good visualization of how much fatigue it costs. It's like the cost of the effort. So the more carbohydrate you burn, the more fatigue you create, right? So when you're like further down the curve where it's coming aerobically and anaerobically, fat and carbs are doing it, the amount of like recovery it takes is not as much. But when it's just carbohydrate at a higher rate, it's going to cause more damage, and you're going to have to, it's going to take longer to recover from immediately. You need 4 minutes to recover from your 2-minute effort, but also you might need 2 days to recover from the hard session.
Exactly.
It's kind of just thinking about how you're going to balance the day and what you're training. This is why I say you're always working back from your goal. So what is your goal? What adaptation you're trying to get is how you build that session. Make sense?
Makes sense. I wanted to say, like, in short, it would be, it depends.
Yeah, exactly. Always it depends. That's my answer to everything. How do I monitor progress and decide what to do for the next 2 weeks? Mm-hmm. I think lab testing is good, but you can't really do that regularly because it's expensive and takes a lot of effort. And also the other thing I don't like about testing, and I don't want to call it testing, because if I say to you, oh, we're going to do testing, it's quite stressful, right?
Stressed already from the thought.
Yeah. And you put a lot of pressure on yourself because it's like, oh, well, I have to do better than last time because otherwise this is all pointless, which isn't the case.
But it's good because pressure makes diamonds, no?
But the racing's for pressure. You can't have pressure all the time, and you can't, and also you can't expect like your performance to just go up all the time. Yeah. It's going to go up and down, and that's normal. And actually, if you regularly track your progress or regularly have something that you kind of can monitor every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, you get a much better sense of, okay, how is my body responding to either doing a lot of training, not much training, I did lots of intensity, I did less intensity, and you can start to see how your body responds. So a really simple way would just be like, if you have a local climb that's, say, 15 minutes long, you could just ride it at a tempo effort. Or it doesn't have to be a climb. You live somewhere flat. Any loop you can do. You don't have to do it as hard as you can. You do it like, tempo effort, and you see and track, okay, how does my heart rate, how was my power, how was my speed? And if you do that regularly, you get an idea of, okay, how am I responding to the training?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically when I do like intervals, usually I do them pretty much in the same place.
Yeah.
I know there is a straight stretch where will be no cars, etc., and I'm going there and doing that. So sometimes, of course, wind affects things. Like if it's tailwind, you can go slightly faster than you did it in the past. But in general, if we go into the Strava and we see segment efforts, like from the past, it's kind of nice to see the progress where we see that in the past you've been doing it 160 BPM at 300 watts, and now you are doing that at 140, for instance. So it's like, so I'm moving somewhere, but it's very important not to compare yourself with your yesterday self, because it's not where the progress happens overnight.
Yeah, if you're doing that regularly, you could look at, okay, and you're doing it now in May, you could look at, oh, where was I last year in May?
Yeah.
Have I improved over the course of the year? Depending on what your situation is. Some people can train less and some people can train more. But, it's always good to benchmark so regularly.
And talking about the benchmarks, in the app there is some sort of calibration, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Are you going to cover about this? Because that was one of my questions, which was, I was not exactly sure what that means and what it calibrates to.
Like I said, I don't like calling things a test because it puts pressure on people and it makes people self-conscious about, oh, I have to do better. Was it the Lambrecht Submaximal Cycling Test? You could put a link to this guy, he's Dutch or Belgian. He's done loads of kind of peer-reviewed studies on this test, and being able to do it regularly, and it's a number of different levels. So you do 6 minutes at 60% max heart rate, 6 minutes at 80% max heart rate, and 3 minutes at 90% max heart rate. So only the last 3 minutes is like properly intense. And I actually like to set it as a warm up. Like, it's a perfect time trial warm up, because you go through the zones and then you finish with some intensity. And by tracking, okay, what's your power at those 3 heart rate zones, you can really see how you're improving over time. So, this is a bunch of test data over the last year, and you can see this athlete, he's kind of up and down to start with, but then he's kind of had clear progress towards the end in his, 60% heart rate, which is, purely aerobic. His tempo zone, 80%, has kind of come up and down. We did a lot of steady endurance base work here, so hence the higher intensity zones have come down. And then as we're coming into the summer, we're putting some more hard work on top.
And those graphs, you only see it as a coach, right?
Yeah. So the coach and the athlete see it. Then, the way that the Topp performance app works is it uses that data from the progress test to decide, okay, should we give you more intensity, less intensity, more volume, less volume? How are you responding to, each kind of training zone? Are we getting the adaptations we want? And then it will kind of reprioritize what we're going to do over the next 2 weeks, which is effectively what I'm saying you should do anyway, just the way I've designed the app as it does it for us.
The app kind of requests to add some metrics about your subjective feeling, how you feel, how you slept, etc. How that data is being used. So that's question number 1. And the other is, let's say I skipped the training today. Will it be in the app? If we talk about the app, will it be moved ahead automatically? How it works? So I think that's a missing part which we haven't covered.
Okay, so I'm going to answer your first question, which is, yeah, it's always good. So this is what I mean by in the morning, you should check in with yourself. How are you feeling? The way we do that is you answer a questionnaire, which is just like, how's your mood? Are you stressed? Are you sore from other days, like muscle soreness? Your energy, how's that feeling? Are you high energy, low energy? Were you satisfied with training? And then the keys for me are like, is your mood good and is your motivation high? Because, low mood and low motivation tends to be you're tired, you need a rest. Whereas high is like, okay, you're ready, your body's ready for more.
On the contrary, let's say that someone's mood is bad because he had a bad day at work. So maybe that's kind of an indication that doing the hard session might improve the mood or not. How that mood, because it's very subjective, how it's being taken into account.
So again, on a given day, yes, like you've had a bad day, the idea of doing a hard session might be really compelling and you would feel better once you're done, which is great. But if you're having a lot of stress at work and there's a lot of life pressure, then constantly doing hard sessions, you're just going to run out of energy. You're just going to dig a hole. So again, that's why it's always good to, track the average. How are you scoring on average? And then, is today high or low compared to that? And again, on a 3-day average, is it high or low? So, this particular athlete, his soreness score today is pretty low, or actually high. Like he's said he's got a high score for soreness, whereas on average it's pretty low. So that's an indicator that there's like a bit of fatigue there, right? But his motivation is higher than his average. So actually, on average, take it all into account, his readiness score comes in about normal. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Then to answer your other question, which I think was what happens when you move a session or miss a session. To me, a missed session is missed. It's gone, right? So the next day, you're re-optimizing. What am I going to do with the time I've got available now? And the fact that you missed the session the other day isn't important. Can you fit it in? Yeah, maybe. But actually, once you do a session, it's gone, right? It doesn't matter if you've done it or not done it. It's you don't need to think about it again. Whereas what you want to think about is, okay, what do I do with my time today?
The session is gone if you're not done it. That makes sense. But let's say that we planned 20 hours per 2 weeks and I missed 5 hours. Should I try to like recoup those hours in small chunks on the upcoming weeks, or it's like, whatever?
It depends. So it depends why you missed it. Like, did you miss it because you're really busy and you were ill, or you were injured, or did you miss it because you couldn't be bothered, you know? And if the answer, all of those answers indicate that the plan wasn't good enough because you didn't manage to fit it in, whether you were unmotivated, lost out on time, got sick, right? So we need to factor that in going forward. So the fact that maybe you'd planned 40 hours over 2 weeks, but actually your body, or not just your body, even your life is getting and saying you can't do that. So therefore you have to listen to it. Pulling out the arbitrary 40-hour number is just a number. I think generally when you look at what you've done previously, so for example, we looked at your 90-day average, it was about 6,500 kilojoules, which you could equate that to like 11, 12 hours a week, right? That's what you do on average. So we can be pretty confident that you'll be able to do that without kind of changing your routine. That's your routine. You're normally able to do that. If we suddenly said, oh, you're actually going to do 22,000 kilojoules in a week, which is like the equivalent of a week of the Tour de France, 30 hours of training, you might be like, yeah, I can do that. I'll be up for that. But realistically, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
However,
maybe it could happen for 1 week.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. But however, maybe we plan, okay, we're going to go do a training camp in Calpe and we're going to ride 5 hours every day and that's our only job while we're there. Well, then, yeah, it's capable of doing it and you could get it done. It depends.
If anyone has any questions, you can leave them in the comments, but be aware that it depends.
Yeah, please ask all the questions because, I like to say it depends.
It depends, and then we can talk for what influenced that dependability.
Exactly, yeah. Oh yeah, now your race. Let's talk about your race.
It depends. In the third episode, we've been talking about Alps Epic.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the race which I put out of the blue, and I wasn't even expecting to go there. No, it's not the case. I hope to go there because it's 10th edition. Tom 10, talking here. But other than that, I really like the way course looks like. It's really hard race, a lot of elevation, which I am not super huge fan. But in general, reviews, I think I've been in one real mountain bike race, which was in Alps, in the Alpedal Trophy, and the climbs were terrible. The descents mostly were on gravel. You go up, and then on the gravel fire roads you go down. So, of course, for me, when it was first time ever in such environment, it was like, wow. But now looking at Alps Epic, I mean, it's like you climb very hard and then you descend in single tracks on the slopes of big, huge mountains. So it's like dreamy place to ride. At least it looks like from the videos which I was able to find. Yet, most likely I won't be there. The reason being, I contacted the organizers. I asked for approval to record the race. And they got in touch with UCI because it's 10th edition this year. They decided to do it UCI marathon. And it's forbidden to use the cameras. And I still try to convince hey, maybe it would be possible. For the record, I'm not asking for free registrations, something to give away for me, etc. I'm just asking for permission to record. And they don't. They potentially might want to, but the UCI official said that it's forbidden. sent me the document with parts taken from the regulations, where it says that.
How come that's forbidden there, but it's not forbidden at Costa Blanca?
Don't ask me. I have no answers because I've been in France in Roc d'Azur last year. I've been with Chesty, and the official from UCI come to me, and he's like, "It's dangerous. It's dangerous for you." Then he explained to me that if anything happens, it's on me. And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, that's fine." And I was with Chesty, and he allowed me. It depends on country, and it also depends on the official itself. But chances are like extremely slim. Now, do you think that it would be enough time for me 2 weeks from one stage race to the other extremely hard race? Would it be enough?
Yeah.
You think
I
so?
think so. Yeah, you do a lot of riding. Maybe if you were kind of not used to doing a lot of racing and you weren't riding 10, 15 hours a week every week, then it would be more difficult. But I think your body will recover pretty quickly.
But it's like 5 days and all days more than 2,000 of elevation. And in quite short distance, like in 55 kilometers, 2.3K or something like that. And it's 5 days. I mean, it would be hard, I guess.
You love going into a race like completely overcooked, though.
Yeah. But this time, I will arrive to the race 5 days in front, and I have promised for myself that I won't do recons of all the race courses because it's 5 stages and I won't have enough time for sure, but I will try to do my best. Well, maybe I will check only stage 1 because it's only 20 kilometers. Maybe some endings. And that's how I've already cooked in my mind. So you said that you looked something about that race, what it will be. What do you have any questions about it or how?
Well, I think you need to introduce what the race is because you haven't said where you're going yet.
It's a secret. Rally di Romagna, which is between Milan and Bologna in Salsa Maggiore. Salsa Maggiore. By the way, you've been in Italy, so you probably have quite a good pronunciation of Italian. I will be living 10 kilometers from the race village. I decided that 10 kilometers in front, good warm-up. At least there will be no excuse not to do the warm-up. And then cool down. But in general, it seems very, from the terrain perspective, similar to Spain in a way. Like not too high peaks and not too long climbs and quite spiky. I looked at some videos. Basically, it looks like my home place just on steroids. And I don't know. It seems fun how it will be. I will let you know once I finish it.
Are you feeling confident? Have you got an idea of where you want to finish, result?
Yeah, there are usually around 200 participants in that race. I would say that top 20 would be my goal without knowing too much about anything what's there. Because probably, Italians are quite good climbers and they are skinny guys. So I would expect that also some foreigners will arrive there. So probably top 10 would be out of reach. Top 20 is, I don't know. I haven't looked into the results much, but I think that it could be potential aim.
Okay.
What's your take?
I will show you the results now.
Wow.
There you go. So I would look at, the guy that finished first did it in 11 hours.
Yeah,
And
I see
then-
that there is a speed. Media, it seems like the speed. Like
2
the
hours.
last column on the right
Yeah.
is the average speed. So
Yeah.
top 20. I mean, it looks like quite reasonable, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say so. So what's that? 13, an extra 2 hours over 11. So it's basically just over 20%.
What
It's hard
the
to say, isn't
market-
it, versus like the standard of racing that you've done so far. But you
Yeah.
were about, from memory, you were about 20% slower than the winner. So this is the first stage, 23K. I'm pretty sure it is a time trial because he calls it a prologue.
But maybe, you know why I'm skeptical? You can go flybys and we will figure out. Just click flybys and see if our guy started with him. As you see, all started at the same time.
Oh, okay, yeah, fine.
The reason why I guessed that it should probably the case is because the return is through the same place, and if
Yeah.
it would be time trial, then like people would meet each other.
True.
That's just a guess.
I think the thing to point out is, okay, it took about an hour, right? And this
With
is the guy that won.
700 meters.
Yeah, which isn't too bad. It's lots of small climbs. There's no climb, that's 7 minutes. This one's like 5 minutes. 5 minutes. So the climbs aren't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously yours is slightly different. You've got a few extra climbs, but these two big ones are the same. So all the climbs are like, 3 to 5 minutes long.
So
just got-
I am aiming to win the prologue.
I think so. What do you average? 326 and 350 normalized for 50 minutes.
I could do it for 1 hour,
Yeah,
but
and
only
then
that.
like obviously for you, you're going to have to do a bit more on the climb, but I think you can get a good result. And then the other stage to look at was stage 3 because this is the biggest stage. And again, I think I found the same guy. Oh no, this is the guy that finished second, and then here's the guy that won. And it was a sprint finish, but like 3.5 hours. And again, he's not doing huge watts. Well, I mean, it's pretty big for a mountain bike stage. 260. He's averaging like 300 watts on the climbs. 350.
Yeah, but probably it's like smaller guy.
Climbs like 25 minutes long. So I think you can get a good result. It doesn't look as challenging. Well, like you say, it looks similar to Costa Blanca in terms of the terrain, I think. Like the overall elevation, distance, the time it's going to take.
In terms of a profile,
Yeah.
But from the looks, I think it reminds me more of a Wallcat in terms of terrain.
Yeah.
I mean, there was also some mud in the images, so that means, well, in Casablanca it would be also muddy. But like by amount of green around, it seemed like more to Barcelona area.
Have you looked at what the weather is? Because northern Italy in May can be wet.
At least for now, forecast, you can't believe what's in few weeks time frame, but it looks like nice.
Okay.
23 degrees during the day and not too much rainfalls, but things can change.
Mm-hmm. Pack in case there is a day that's like terrible weather.
So I need some tires to take with me.
I would, yeah.
Because what I saw from the pictures, if it's rainy, it's decent
Decent
fast.
But I think you've got a good aim. I reckon top 20 is definitely doable.
I would say top 15. But
I think if you have a good week, I think if you have a week where nothing goes wrong, you feel good, and you have you're able to attack the race every day, you could finish in the top 10.
and I don't blow myself a week before.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I would be very surprised if you don't get a top 10 on at least one stage.
Set.
Finish? Done.
I'm set. I'm set for success.
Set. Okay.
How is your hand?
It's getting better, but I don't think I'll be coming to Lithuania to ride my bike at this point. But I'm hoping that in my head, I want to do the Mediterranean Epic together in February.
People will think that guy is crazy. He's talking about Med Epic on every episode. He's like putting the seed into the soil.
Yeah, exactly. People want to, you have to manifest it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Before the sleep, every single day, we'll do Med Epic.
Yeah. I'm not a man to be told no, so, this is just the universe saying, nah, don't do it, which it just makes me want to do it more. Anyway, but still, we're going to do it, and so we're going to do a live episode from Spain in January on the sofa.
That sounds good.
For many years, I went to a different place that was even further south called Mahaka, which is 3 hours south of Benidorm. And
but it's very interesting. It's interesting that you've been there a lot of years, and you haven't considered going to a different place. You find the place which suits you, and you just go there year to year, rather than thinking that maybe there are other places which might match. How the thought process?
Yeah, because the riding is so good. The road riding is the best anywhere. In the winter, Europe in the winter, December, January, it is the best riding you can do. The weather is good. It can be a bit cold, but if it's cold there, it's freezing in the rest of Europe. It never rains. And also the most important thing is when I was doing it to train. I was there to train. I lived like a monk. There's nothing to do. There's no distractions. You just go there and ride your bike. And the climbs are very high. So you could go up over 2,000 meters in January. And you can't get that anywhere else. So that's why I always went back.
And what's the temperature at 2Ks in January there?
Sometimes it'd be 10, 11 degrees up there. It'd be, you would have a jacket, but you would still have your legs out. And descending would be okay. But if you went up and the weather turned, you're fucked. You're so fucked. So we learned a lesson one year where we went up for a ride and we could see, we knew that the forecast was bad, but we were we're just going to do it because we were naive and British and thought, hey, what's some rain, right? We got up to I think we were about 1,200 meters high, and then the hail started, hail the size of your fist.
Yeah.
And we were shit, we've got to get down. All we've got are these little jackets. And so we started descending, but the hail was so strong, I had to keep my eyes closed, right? Descending, and then every few seconds I'd open my eyes, shut my eyes again, just to make sure I was straight. And I managed to get down, and I got to the bottom, and my friend, you were it's every man for himself just to get down. And then when I got down to the bottom, I was like, shit, where's John? Is he going to die? What do I do? Do I go back up? And then it felt like forever waiting for him. And then suddenly he comes around the corner and it's just oh, yes, he's made it. And we're so cold. I've honestly never been that cold in my whole life.
But, it was ignorance. You knew that it could be bad. Yeah. And it turned to be bad.
Definitely. It's the opposite. It's the same as when British people in Spain in the summertime and they go out and they suntan and they get bright red and you see them in the restaurants and they're so sunburnt. We did the same thing, but just in winter. But it's really good. And Mahaka, a incredible place to ride. So I'll always go back there because it is good. But mountain biking,
Where is the closest airport to it?
Murcia,
Oh,
which it's like an hour
but
and a
you've
half.
been riding with driving with car, I guess.
Yeah. I would drive all the way there from Wales.
Oh, one question. In the Instagram, the photo which you shared where it was like open, was it somewhat from the past or was it just before the covering process?
That was whilst it was happening.
So the covering process,
Yeah.
or so it's recently.
Yeah. So
That
I was
photo was-
awake. I was awake when they
got
did
it.
the surgery. So I had my arm out and I was like watching them do it, and I was like, oh, take some pictures.
Of
It's-
course, you saw it quite a lot of times, but did you ever felt like, dizzy from the idea that you are seeing flesh?
Yeah. So actually, obviously I saw it when it happened, like immediately, and that was, I don't know. Adrenaline just means that you don't really think about it. You just think, I need to get some help or I'm going to die. You're not really bothered about the way it looks, I
Yeah,
suppose.
sure.
But then, so I had a lot of surgeries that went badly. And so I purposely didn't look at my arm. And actually, like, my family were like, you don't want to look at it. Like, don't look at it. It's not a good idea. And Becky will tell you, like, it looked terrible. Like, she describes it as the worst thing she's ever seen. And so for a long time, I didn't want to see it just because, I don't know, I was like so scared of it going badly again. I just like kind of just was like, I just leave it to the doctors. They'll sort it out. I just have to trust them. If I look at it, I'm just going to worry, or I don't know. It's just like, I just don't want to engage with it because I just want it to work at this point. Once they'd done the new way of doing it with the fake skin and stuff, and I was getting like positive feedback from the doctors, then I started looking at it because I was like, I wasn't so scared, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But at that point, it looked a lot like the picture. It kind of looks like
Clean.
something from it looks clean, and it looks like a prop from a movie. It doesn't look like,
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Not necessarily real.
Yeah, it looks like something from Star Wars or a sci-fi film, right? Whereas I think before, I didn't see it, but from what I was told, it looked like something from, a war movie where your arm has been blown apart. Like, It looked terrible. But yeah, it's doing a lot better. It's good. I had the vac thing on with the tube.
Yes.
And it went into the fart machine, the machine that like bubbled and made fart noises. That's gone now, which is amazing because that was really fucking annoying.
And so basically now it's like a matter of time.
Yeah,
or
so now the
you
skin...
might need 8 surgery.
See, the doctors kind of... I'm a bit annoyed because they were always like... I think they just wanted me to focus... Like, everyone was just focused on the skin grafts working because that's what wasn't working. And if they didn't work, like, that was where the problems were coming from. Mm-hmm. So everyone was just like so focused on that. No one has really talked about or looked at or like told me about what might happen with the bones. Everyone just left me to think, oh, the bones will heal. They're just bones healing. But then once they'd done that bit and sort of seen, okay, it looks okay, they were like, okay, now the primary concern.
The other part.
yeah, literally, yeah. And I was like, oh, well, isn't that just, a case of waiting and they'll come back and it'll be fine? And they were like, no, maybe not. One of the bones was so damaged and was missing so much bone that there is a chance it won't ever fuse back together. Mm-hmm. At which point I will need more surgery to kind of have
strengthen it up.
Extra structure in there so that I can use my arm. What they did say is even if I have to have more surgery, the surgery will be so that I can use my arm in the same situations that I could use it in before. So it shouldn't affect doing stuff, but it just means, once again, going to hospital, going under anaesthetic, chopping my arm up, having to come out and recover and all of that, which isn't particularly enjoyable.
Actually, at very similar time when it happened to you, the same thing happened for a guy in South Africa.
Yeah, we've been messaging on Instagram.
Really?
Yeah.
So you know the story how that happened to him?
No, I don't know the story. We've just been talking about like.
So you have some topics in common to cover, but picture this: he been going downhill, and he noticed the goat aside of the road, and the last minute the goat run in front of him, and he got into the goat. So we made a laugh. So shout out, man! It's about you and it's for you. That he killed the goat. Literally, the goat died. And now he's goated, greatest of all times.
Yeah.
So now it's goated. And yeah, he also had open fracture, but it was more successful, and it's like 9 weeks since that happened, and he's going to start rehabilitation like soon. But yeah, funny that it happened. Well, funny, not funny, but it happened pretty much at similar time. In the way he described in different places of the world, pretty much the same outcome. Not necessarily you didn't became goated.
No.
But I don't know, which is better. But yeah, that's how things happen. So with that funny, not funny note, we can wrap this episode, and maybe you want to say something about what we are going to talk in the next episode, as well as wrap this one up.
Yeah, the next one is going to be about nutrition, fueling, nutrition, and everything that is part of.
Excellent. I like to eat.
Yeah. So whether it's for a race or training or recovery, easy days, hard days, losing weight, all of that, everything, we'll discuss what to eat, what not to eat.
Few last things. One is why in the app every single meal is quinoa, whatever.
Quinoa,
What the hell?
So at the moment, the app is connected to like a ChatGPT style model, right? And I think that model is obsessed with quinoa. Like it loves quinoa.
Maybe it has
so
some
AI,
special power.
If AI takes over the world, then we're all going to be eating quinoa every day for every meal. Yeah. But yeah, every meal it's quinoa. So that's because it's learning.
You need to tell him what I just told you now, and he needs to add more chicken, more burgers, and I don't know, eggs for breakfast preferred.
Well, and on a serious note, what I'm trying to do at the moment is design it so that you can tell it what you have in the cupboards and the fridge. So it will propose a meal idea, but you can say to it, oh well, I've got some chicken, whatever, and then it will say, okay, it will use those ingredients to make the meal.